Hi everyone, today we're talking about annual depreciation and inflation, and this is 7.4. An increase in monetary value is called inflation, where on the flip side, a decrease in monetary value is called a depreciation. So to calculate the inflation, you can use a formula for compound interest from the last lesson, and your graphing calculator, the solver for finance. To find depreciation, you can use the same formula as for compound interest, but the rate will be negative instead of positive. In our first example, it is estimated that the value of a lump sum investment is 5% more than its value the previous year. Estimate the number of years that it will take the investment to double. So we don't know our starting amount and we don't know our ending amount. So we're just going to call our starting amount, or our what we call our present value, our PV value, the variable A maybe. So let's define everything we need. So let A be a variable that stands for the annual lump sum. So if you wanted to double your lump sum, that would be 2A. So 2A would be double. We know our formula from our last lesson to be our final value is equal to our present value multiplied by 1 plus your R, your rate, divided by K, the number of times compounding, multiplied by 100, raised to the K, the number of times compounding, multiplied by N, which is how many years. Now, in this problem, our K value is 1. And if you think about that, we're just applying our interest rate one time per year. Okay, so if we plug in what we know our final value would be 2A, and that's equal to A multiplied by 1 plus your interest rate, which is 5, divided by, I'll leave K as 1, so that would just be a denominator of 100, raised to the, again, K is 1, to the, how long does it sit? It sits for an unknown amount of time. Agreed? So we want to solve for N. All right. Now, a little trick that you can do is this A is being multiplied by the big set of parentheses of 1 plus 5 over 100. So we're actually going to divide off that A from both sides of your equation. So our initial amount doesn't actually matter. You've got 2 is equal to 1 plus 5 over 100 raised to the N. Now, you can solve that. I'm going to use my finance solver in my graphing calculator, and I get an answer of N is equal to 14.2 years. Now, let me give you the overview of what I dropped into my graphing calculator. So remember, to get to the finance solver, you need to hit first apps and then go to finance, which is the number 1, and hit enter, and then to the TVM solver, hit enter, and then it pops up into the screen. Now, I already solved for that N, but you're going to have a 0 for the N until you solve it. So you're going to enter 5 for your interest rate. Our present value is technically 1 because it's 1 times that big set of parentheses. And for your present value, you need to make that negative. And then you're going to enter your final value as 2, leave everything else there. Our K is 1, so that makes these all 1. And then when you have everything entered, hit up to the N, and then make sure you use to solve for N. Make sure, I guess that looks weird. It's like kind of like a bolded N. Make sure you hit alpha and then enter. And that 14.2 should pop up. So just as a broad overview, you've got N is what you are solving for. You've got your interest rate, the percent is 5. You've got your present value, -1. And then PMT is 0, and your final value you're going to enter as 2, and then solve it. All right, moving on to our next example. This is an example of a depreciation. The other example was, back up here, was inflation. Now we're decreasing our money. So Angela, hi Angela, paid $32,000 US for a new car. The car depreciates at a rate of 10% per annum, so that's per year. Find the value of the car after 5 years. So here's our formula. We're again going to use k is equal to 1 because the interest rate is not compounding any more than one time per year. So this one, you need to use a minus for the decay in your formula to make your value, your final value less than your present value. You have to make a negative or put a negative sign so that it goes 100% minus the rate. Okay, so our final value, we're going to plug in what we know. We know our present value is 32,000, and 1 minus your 10 divided by, remember k is 1, 100 to the k is 1, n value is 5 years, and just use any old calculator you got lying around there and drop that in, and you should get $18,895.68 US dollars. All right, so that pretty much wraps up that lesson, and I wish